Welcome back to Python tutorial. I am so excited to discuss functions with you, right? So actually at this level, your Python will be testing your programming skills, like workflow, the logics and everything that we have been learning. So that is all we're going to do here, and that is all about functions, right? So now, what is a function? A function is a block of code that runs only when you call it. That is, whenever you call it, that is when it runs. And the reason why we use function is that it makes our code cleaner. Like if I write 6 times 7 times 8 divided by 3 minus 3 and all of that, right? So when I run this, the answer is this. So if I want to perform this similar operation now, but with this similar operation with something different, and I say something like this is 56, and I say 454, then here I say 9, and here I be like, okay, 0, right? And I run, of course returns an error because of the 0, right? So when I say something like 3, and of course I run it, and you see, so now this actually does not look cool. It doesn't make our work look neat, right? So what we have to do is we can put all these things inside a function, right? So that is actually the job of a function. So now let's do a simple example, right? Let's start with something simple and proceed from there. So now to run a function or to build a function, all you have to do is tell Python that I want to build a function. And how you do that is you use the keyword def, that's def, right? Whenever Python sees this word, you are actually telling Python that I want to build a function, right? So the next thing that follows is the name of the function. So this function we're only just going to build a function that will say hello, right? So we'll say hello, right? Say hello. And of course, there is a parenthesis which makes it a function, and then there is a colon. So this is actually the syntax of a function, right? So now I want to say something. If you see here, I said say hello with snake casing, right? So it's all small letters with snake casing. So now this is actually the convention, so that when another programmer is reading your code, as soon as he sees this, he will know that yes, it is a function. So yeah, so after the name of the function, which is say hello, then we'll have this parentheses and then this colon, right? So what next? The next thing we want to do is build our function, but before we do that, we want to tell another programmer or someone that wants to read our code what this function will be able to do. And how you do that is you do that with this. Oh, sorry about that. Do that with no. Why is it not cooperating? I just need 3 columns. All right, 3 quotation mark, and yes, here we are. Yes. So now this 3 quotation mark here and this one here is actually a multi-line comment, right? If you want to write so many comment, like so many multi-line comments, so it's actually Python actually ignores anything that is between this and this. So this function we're trying to write is actually going to say hello. So say just saying hello, right? Just saying hello. So now we'll come out of this comment section, and then we'll say print hello. Sorry, that's supposed to be a string. Print hello. All right, so when I run this, nothing happens, right? So notice what happens when I call this word, this my function. Remember the definition of a function. A function is a block of code that runs only when you call it, right? So when I call this function, so look at what happens. You say hello, right? So this is actually the syntax of a function. So now let's proceed from here and get and modify this a little bit. So let's do this. This is def keyword. I will say hello, but now I want to pass an argument here. I want a user to pass an argument or a parameter, right? So what do we do? So what is the parameter we want to be added here? To be added here, that is name. So we'll say name. Yeah. So here we want this name whenever a user adds his or her name. So we want it to be concatenated with this, what is printing out, right? So what we do is we say use this plus, and we say, okay, to make sure that there's proper spacing, and we'll say plus, and we'll say name. Yeah. So when I come over here and call, when I come over here and I call hello, say hello, yeah, say hello, and if I run this, look, there's an error, right? Because it is Python is expecting you to pass an argument here. So look, it say hello, missing one, require positional argument, right? So it's expecting you to pass something here. So what do you have to pass? A name. So my name is Anderson, and now I run this and look at what's saying. Hello, Anderson. So this is actually how we have been able to modify this. All right, so now we have been using the print word here, the print keyword here, but actually inside the function we don't, it is we are not expected to use the print keyword. We are expected to use another word which is known as the return, right? The return keyword. So I quickly write another function, and I will say def add num, yeah, and I will say num1, I will say num1, then I'll say comma num2, yeah, then I will come here and also always note that there is an indentation. So when your cursor is here ticking, don't just try and send it back, like take it like this, no. So it must be inside the indentation block here. So now let's continue. So now we have def add num and num1, num2. So now what this function is about to do is just to add any number that will pass in, right? Remember, this is the argument 1 and this is the argument 2. So Python is expecting us to always add passing 2 arguments, right? So now let's use the return keyword, right? Return. Remember, this is the return. We use the return keyword in here. Then we will say return num1 plus num2. Yeah. Then when I run this and nothing happens, then I call on my add num. Remember, a function always runs whenever you call on it, right? So when I call on this function and then I pass this, then now Python is expecting me to pass an integer, right? Because it's an addition, right? When I say 2, right, and I say comma 2, and I run this, of course we have 4. So what we can actually do something, right? It might be like, oh, there's no difference between the return and the what is it called, and the print, right? But actually the return keyword actually allows us to store our value, right? So what I mean is that when I say answer is equal to this, I might change it and be like, okay, this is 12 and this is 24, yeah, and this is 24, yeah, and I run, and when I call on answer, when I call on answer and I run, of course you have 36. All right, so this is actually the main reason why we actually use what is it called, the return keyword. But as we proceed, you always see the more reason why we use the return keyword and here. So just a quick summary, this is all about function. Function is, in order to run a function, we have to use the def keyword and the name of the function, then there is a parenthesis, and whenever we call this function, we have to always add this parenthesis. It's just like a method, right? So whenever you call a method, you have to add your parenthesis, right? So this is actually how the function works. Okay, look at what will happen here. Let's say I didn't pass in this argument, right? I only pass in one argument. Look at what will happen. We return an error, right? Say add num missing one required positional argument, right? And they said num2, which means we have to pass in another required argument, right? So when I say something like 2 plus 4, right, and look at what happens, of course it doesn't work. Missing one required positional argument. This is because this plus here is treating it as 1, because you need to separate it with a comma, right? So when I say plus 4 and I run, of course it returns the answer. So this is it for functions, right? So in the next one, we'll try and do more coding and solve more more complex problems so that it will help you to understand it. Like I said, don't worry if you did not understand it, it's okay, right? I'm going to guide you through it all. It's actually a bit difficult, but it actually tests your knowledge, which I actually like. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.